To Tell the Truth, show number 1193. Director Paul Alter, recording date 3/7/72, take one.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Moore!
Hi. Awful nice to see you. I have a very distinguished guest. You know what he's doing? You won't believe this. He sees himself in the monitor. I've never seen this happen. He's barking at himself. Who is that strange guy over there? That's all right, John. That's all right, J.D. This distinguished guest's name is... Don't be upset. He doesn't like his own picture. His name is Cherry Nose Adam James, and around the house he's just known as DJ. He has so many awards I cannot begin to tell you what distinguished company I'm in. His proud owner is our first guest, and we'll meet him as soon as J.D. bites the panel here on To Tell the Truth.
Bill Cullen and Peggy Cass. Gene Shalit and Kitty Carlisle.
What'd he do? He almost took me downstairs with him. The most beautiful animal I have seen. I have owned 2 Springer Spaniels that I thought were pretty, but boy, that one. Heartbreaking.
Beautiful. I had one once. That's a beauty.
Well, I want to tell you, if any of us had bloodlines like that dog, none of us would work with the rest of us.
We bark pretty good, though.
But the thing that you didn't see, he saw himself in the monitor and immediately got just upset, terribly upset.
First dog he's ever seen that looked as good as he did.
Jealousy, no doubt, yes. Now, let us forge ahead and meet our very lucky and proud dog owner.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Milton Prickett.
Number 2.
My name is Milton Prickett.
Number 3.
My name is Milton Prickett.
And our job is to find out which one of these 3 gentlemen is indeed Milton Prickett, and here is his dog wagging tail. It says, I, Milton Prickett, am the owner of a remarkable English Springer Spaniel. At the 96th Westminster Kennel Club show, my dog was voted best of show over 3,092 other superb breeds and varieties. Not only that, he won the honor at this most prestigious of all canine events for the 2nd year in a row, a feat which had not been accomplished for nearly 20 years. Known as DJ, my wonderful Springer Spaniel won the celebrated Triple Crown of dogdom in the course of amassing a remarkable record. In fact, he made dog show history by winning the sporting group 86 times out of 97 showings. Signed, Milton Prickett. And while the 3 Mr. Pricketts get settled in, we'll have a word or 2 from the clients and be back to find out about this great pooch. We have with us today three gentlemen, one of whom is fortunate enough to be Mr. Milton Prickett, the owner of DJ, a champion Springer Spaniel. And we'll start the question with Gene Shalit, please.
You will. All righty. Number 2, it says in the affidavit that there are 3,092 other superb breeds and varieties. I wonder, could you list those for us, please?
Where shall I begin?
I'll ask you instead, since you seem to be reluctant. What are the 2 or 3 key things a judge looks for in judging a dog such as yours?
Well, charisma is one of the most important
Charisma?
things.
In a dog?
Believe it or not, yes. Poise, alertness, stance.
And how he answers questions, yes.
That's right.
Number 3, may I ask you, the dog has won 2 in a row. Are you planning to make it 3 in a row next year?
No, as a matter of fact, he's being retired this year.
Don't say that. If you heard the dog, he doesn't agree with you, Gary. And I would like to ask, number 1, says, first time this has been done in 20 years. What kind of dog won 2 years in a row 20 years ago?
It was a Doberman Pinscher.
And that buzzer takes us to Kitty Carlisle, please.
Number 1, are you a dog breeder
I hope to be.
with this dog?
Yes.
Number 2, what does DJ stand for?
Diamond Jim.
Oh. Number 3, how far back do his bloodlines go?
Well, on a pedigree, it seems to me there's only about room for around 10 generations.
Thank you. Number 1, Rob, I'm sorry. Can he see in 3 dimensions? Is he vain? That's why he barked at himself? Or did he just bark because he was barking?
Anyone who's won as much as he is bound to be vain.
Number 2, can he see in 3 dimensions?
Yes, he
dogs?
can.
He can?
Yes, he can.
Number 3, does he see in Technicolor?
Well, that's a very subjective question.
You don't know.
I really don't know.
Number 1, does he have a wife? Well,
Quite a few.
Sort of a harem dog.
Where do you think they got that expression, lucky dog? Go down to Bill Cullen, please.
Or depending how you look on it, leading a dog's life.
Or a hot dog.
Number 2, do you agree that he's going to be retired next year?
Yes, he's going to be.
How old is he?
He's 3 years old.
Now, I'll stay with number 2. Why are you retiring him? I mean, he's in the prime of life pretty much, isn't he?
You quit when you're ahead.
Oh, is that the idea?
Yes.
You don't want bad marks against... number 1, in your estimation, what is the best time for a show dog? How long does it take? What's the youngest a good show dog can be?
They start them as early as 6 months.
I'll stay with number 1. Do you show this dog yourself? I mean, by that I mean, do you handle the dog at the show?
No, a professional handler does it.
Number 3, have you ever handled a dog at a dog show?
Only when he was a puppy, just to see the feel of the ring.
Right.
Thank you, and let's go to Peggy Casper.
Thank you. Number 1, what is Crufts?
That's an English dog show.
Thank you. Number 2, is JD a house dog?
Yes, ma'am.
As well. Number 3, there's one difference in the way you showed him at the garden backstage, as it were. What's the difference between most dogs waiting to be shown and him? Most dogs sit around in cages. Does he?
No, as a matter of fact, he doesn't like a cage at all.
Thank you. Number 2, who was the most famous Cocker Spaniel that ever won the Westminster?
Brucey was the last name. My Blue Brucey.
Number 3, who's Frank Sabella?
Frank Sabella?
Sabella.
He's a judge.
Thank you. Number 1, would you say that what your dog has most of all is that he's a crowd pleaser? I mean, he comes alive when the audience is there?
Yes, I would say so. The applause out here appeared to attract him.
Number 1, how much is he going to get to stand at stud, or haven't you decided that yet?
How much?
Yeah.
You mean for stud fee?
Yeah.
$300 for stud fee.
Not bad work, huh?
All right, Peg, that bell does us in on the basis of what we have learned or not learned. We will decide as to whether we think it is number 1, or number 2, or number 3. Rules say that we pay $50 for each wrong guess, $500 if nobody picks out the right gentleman. And Gene Shalit, do you want to start, please? Or will you start?
Yes, I'm probably going to the dogs myself with this selection, but I'm going to pick number 3.
All right, we got a 3 showing in Kitty Carlisle.
Well, I don't know many of the answers to the questions Peggy asked, but I think number 1 knows what he's talking about. And so I don't want to talk about the stud fee, but that's a lot of money.
And Bill Cullen, please.
I always heard that a dog takes on the looks and the personality. He looks exactly like his owner.
I just let him stew over there if I were you.
Yeah, let him
Three of them are going to sit and stare at each other.
But that would mean I'd have to vote for you, Gary, and that's illegal. I can't do that. So
On behalf of the dog,
he doesn't
I resent
look.
that.
He doesn't look like any of those fellas. I voted for number 3. He seemed to look like a dog owner to
We
me.
got a pair of 3s and a 1. And oh, Peggy, you've got.
Well, no, I don't really know, but number 2 should. My own Brucey was such a famous Cocker Spaniel. He used to call him my Blue Brucey. No, he was pretty blue. He died. Number 3, Frank Sabella is a very well-known handler. So I voted for number 1 because he knew what about Crufts, which is the biggest dog show.
Oh, all right. The dog was just up there applauding, and the votes are all in. Will the real Milton Prickett please stand up? Number 2, sir, I thought you were splendid. What is your real name? What do you do?
My name is Dennis Samuels, and I own Allume Handprints here in New York, and we make custom wall coverings and fabrics for interior designers and architects.
Very well known indeed, yeah. And number 3, sir, tell us about yourself.
My name's Tom MacArthur, and I'm a graphic designer here in New York City.
Mr. Prickett, a dog like that is so valuable, it's one so many things. Does he lead a privileged life? Is he just a dog when he's off stage? I mean, do you have somebody dig his bones for him, or does he somebody hired to bite the postman or anything?
No, he's my personal pet.
He is your personal pet. It's remarkable because we had him out here before the show, before the panel even got to the theater, and he didn't want to play show business at all, you know? Very quiet. Bleh. The minute he got on, boy, what a ham. Beautiful dog. Mr. Prickett and gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us on the Tell the Truth. Now, next we're going to meet a very enterprising doctor who has made it possible for patients actually to receive house calls. Now, yeah, mine still does, but it's getting rarer all the time. We'll be right back. Hear more about
in an
this.
ambulance.
Now let's meet our doctor in the house.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is David Schwartz.
Number 2.
My name is David Schwartz.
Number 3.
My name is David Schwartz.
Okay, and here is the affidavit of David Schwartz. Listen carefully. I, David Schwartz, am a physician. I am responsible for the development of a totally new concept in medical service. Under my plan, physicians who want to be relieved of weekend after... Physicians who want to be relieved of weekend, after-hour, or holiday work subscribe to an agency. The agency, in turn, answers the doctor's calls. Depending upon the severity of the situation, one of 3 courses of action are taken. Number 1, the patient receives phone consultation. Or number 2, a physician is dispatched to meet the patient at an office or at a hospital. Or number 3, the doctor goes directly to the patient's own home. Our agency uses residents from leading teaching hospitals near the end of their training. And in all cases, the quality of medical care is of the highest order. Signed, Dr. David Schwartz. And let's start the questioning with the daughter of a doctor, Kitty Carlisle.
Thank you. Well, you're a boon to humanity, whoever you are. And after the show, I want the phone number of this agency right away. Number 1, are you aware of residents and house physicians who are now trying to form a union?
No, I am not.
Number 2, do you know about this?
No, I am not.
Because I have a terrible feeling it might mean strikes in the hospitals.
They already have them.
Oh, dear. Number 3, how many doctors are involved in your service already?
There are about 100 doctors providing service at this time.
Thank you. And number 1, how much does a house call cost?
Between $15 and $20 in the Manhattan area.
That's lovely. Number 2, is the patient required to diagnose his own case? In other words, should he say, I'm really so sick I should meet you at the hospital or come home or what?
Never.
So in other words, the doctor diagnoses it himself?
The patient would say I'm ill and provide certain symptoms. And then, based upon that, we would know whether a physician should go to his home or whether he should come to the office or rather go to the hospital.
Number 3, when he gets to the hospital, does it matter what kind of which hospital the particular doctor is accredited to?
Yes. Patients who are contacted by our service are told which hospital to go to.
Oh, I...
And we go on down to Bill Cullen.
Number 1, is this a New York City service at the moment?
No, we're throughout the country. We have 15 locations in various major cities.
Is New York City one of those?
Yes, it is.
Number 3, what determines whether or not a patient should be treated at home, for instance, take that amount of severity, or go to the hospital? I mean, why would you ask him, for instance, to meet you at a hospital rather than you are going to his home?
This decision is up to the physician who is speaking to the patient once the patient is called. For example, if someone has received trauma, for example, if they had their hands sliced off, obviously they're going to need the attentions that facilities of hospital have. Right. Or a more subtle case might be if someone was having chest pain, a history of cardiac abnormalities, was vomiting, sweating, and couldn't breathe, obviously they were going to need a cardiogram and possibly hospital admission. The time involved to go to the house, give initial treatment to the patient, and then send him to the hospital would be wasted in this case, and he would be advised to go directly to the hospital.
Number 2, do you charge the physicians for subscribing to this service?
Yes, we do.
May I ask if it's on a proportionate basis? Or
No, there's a flat fee. It is $50 a month per subscribing physician.
I see. And number 1...
And we go, please, to pay.
Number 1, it's sort of like radio cabs. Only doctors, right?
Just about.
Okay. Now, I want to ask you, number 3, why won't doctors come to the house anymore the way they did when I was a kid?
Some do. Many do.
They do, not any that I know, but anyway, of course, plastic surgeons don't do their work. Number 3, doesn't the phone company have a list of a telephone number of doctors who are on emergency duty in case you get sick in the middle of the night?
No. The phone company?
Yeah, I think you can call up the operator and ask for them, can't you?
Have you tried it?
No, because I never get sick much. No, they don't? Well, how about that? Number 2, if you're a resident, say, at Columbia Presbyterian, how can you admit a patient? You have to be a regular doctor to do that, don't you?
A resident is a doctor.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry.
What's Crofts?
Number one, I don't understand if a person is having a heart attack and you tell them to go right to the hospital. How the heck are they going to get to the hospital? You got an ambulance company good too?
If the person is having a heart attack and they've had history of heart condition, we'd send an ambulance.
Oh, so you have an ambulance service in connection with
this,
too?
We'd have that available to us, oh yes.
Okay,
And finally to Gene Shalit.
Doctors fascinate me, number two, but tell me, is there any nurses in your service? Do nurses make house calls these days?
Not ours.
Not yours. Number three, why did GPs fall out of fashion? Why do you think that we are in such an age of specialization? Are your doctors GPs, general practitioners who can handle anything, or do you always dispatch a specialist for the case?
You've asked 3 questions.
Well, I'm greedy. Ask the last one. I wondered if you dispatch specialists.
The residents who work with the service are in training in a specialty. They've finished their medical school internship and first few years of residency, so they've had as much training as a GP, and while covering, they function as a GP. However, some of them are board eligible in their specialty.
Thank you. Number one, can you tell me in small towns, are house calls more prevalent than in large cities? Do you think the lack of house calls is a symptom of big cities rather than rural areas?
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, we're not set up in any rural areas at all. Most rural doctors do still make house calls as opposed to major cities.
Good for the rural doctor.
And there goes the bell. And we're going to have to mark our ballots while the audience and I try to make up our minds as to whom we'd vote for. Would it be number 1 or number 2 or number 3? $50 is still the penalty for a wrong vote, $500 if nobody comes up with a good vote, and Kitty starts.
Well, it's very tough. Number 3 is either a medical student or a medical buff. He has all the jargon. But I voted for number 1.
A sneaky doctor's daughter's hunch, huh? Bill Cullen.
Yeah, well, number 3 certainly gave us much more information than we required, and usually that's a sign it's not the one. But he sounds like a doctor, so even if he's not a doctor, I'm going to call him next time I get sick. Take your number and give him a call.
Just if you get lonely,
He can
call
call me, whatever he wants.
Peggy there.
Well, number 3 might be a lawyer because he said you've asked 3 questions in one, but he called it a trauma when your hand is cut off. And only a doctor would say something like that. You go, my hand is off. There's a little trauma there.
Just call.
You going to go along the same way?
Yeah, just call me Lefty.
There you go. Kitty's out there all by herself. And the votes are all in. Huh?
I think I'm wrong.
You think you're wrong?
3's already shoved back. I mean, 1's already shoved back, so he's going to get up.
1 is shoved back, so he's going to
He's
get
trying
off.
to fool me.
You don't want
coming in for
to...
him.
Well, all right. Dr. Schwartz, will the real one please stand up?
Oh, my God, we missed it.
Ah! I just stalled a little doctor. I wanted to give him a small trauma. That's all. Number 1, sir, what is your real name? What do you do?
My name is Eli Hoffman. I'm a certified public accountant.
And number 2, sir, tell us about yourself.
My name is Lee Ross, and I'm a vice president with Warwick and Layler, an advertising agency.
Dr. Schwartz, the one important piece of information has not been brought up, which is what is the name of your organization and how does one go about getting in touch with it?
The name of the organization is Bridge Medical Services. The public cannot get in touch with us directly, but we do have a suggestion. If you find that you call your doctor on a weekend or an evening and you get no response or find he's unavailable, we suggest you gently tell your doctor the next morning that he can get in touch with us. And we have a
So in other words, the
number.
doctor subscribes to the agency,
That's right.
and only a doctor who belongs to that agency can avail can have his patients avail themselves of your service.
And this is important in relation to one question that was asked. How can a resident admit the patient to the hospital if it's necessary? Well, we cover for only the doctors who subscribe, and we don't, that is, the residents don't admit the patient. They call the patient the doctor whose patient it is, and he admits the patient. Or occasionally we'll admit a patient for a doctor.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dr. Schwartz. Delighted to have met you and you other 2 gentlemen as well.
In addition to the cash awards, our first team of challengers will receive Sarah Coventry jewelry. Elegantly designed springtime pin and earrings in silver tones, set with lilac stones and silver chain pastel glow necklace. Our second team will receive Bissell Sweetmaster, electric all-floor vacuum that needs no attachments. Stores as easy as it cleans, Bissell cares about your home. Our central characters today will receive the Samsonite Classic Attaché case, featuring a color-coordinated portfolio and exterior, light, strong magnesium frames, and scuff and stain-resistant cover from Samsonite. Promotional consideration provided by Best Western Motels, the nation's largest chain of 1,200 fine owner-operated motels in 900 cities from coast to coast. This is Johnny Olson speaking for To Tell the Truth, a Mark Woodson, Bill Todman production. I never know why you don't know how to tell the truth. You don't know how to tell the truth.